and welcome again to the Pondwater Dave Show, the 11th edition of the Pondwater Dave Show, and I am your host, Justin Davis. As always, I'm joined by my two co-hosts here, the man that the show is named after, the man who counted Ric Flair's last match, and the man who apparently be working here pretty soon in a town near you, Mr. Pondwater Dave Miller, and of course, the First Lady of the Arn Anderson Fan Club, Miss Amy Vaughn. How are you two today?
Doing great. Excited. A little bummed out. I mean, with the news.
Yep, we had some bad wrestling news this week, and we will get to that momentarily. Before we do, we also have a fourth member in here with us this week. He is the owner and promoter of Bayou Independent Wrestling. I believe Pondwater will be working for this man here in the pretty near future. Josh, thank you for joining us.
Oh, thanks for having me. I appreciate it, guys.
I don't think I said your whole name, Josh Newell. I just acted like everyone knew who you was. I'm sorry. But yeah, we had some tough news this week, just recently, actually just a day ago or so, that of course I'm sure we all know by now, as this show will be coming out later. Jay Briscoe of the Briscoe brothers, of course, was unfortunately involved in a car accident that took his life and seriously injured other members of his family. Just a terrible, terrible situation. And we want to address that right out of the top of the show here. We know you saw the tribute video that we put in front of this show. A guy that meant a lot to a lot of people. I know I've seen him. Dave, you've worked with him. I don't know if you have, Josh, but I assume you probably have. Just a really good dude in my interactions with him. Dave, I know you've had probably more than most. What was your memories of him?
You know,
well, they were late to the show, weren't they? So you probably didn't get to talk to him much there at Ric Flair's last match.
No, I spent some time with them. They weren't late. The Von Erichs were late.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I got my tag team.
No, I spent a little time with them at StarCast too, and so did my wife. Got a really good impression of them. Great guys. I came late to the Briscoe party. I mean, they came on my radar when they won the Crockett Cup. I was at Conrad's house and we were watching it on pay-per-view, and I was just really, really impressed with them because I don't know, because of the camouflage and the beards, and just I don't know. I had a preconceived notion of them and didn't realize just how good they were.
I think I could agree with you. I think I was in that same boat with you there at the beginning of that.
And then I was fortunate enough to get to watch them against FTR. WrestleMania weekend, we went to a live show at Gillies with Conrad and Jeff Jarrett, and after the show, we went back to where they were staying, and we watched the Ring of Honor pay-per-view. So, and that was a treat, humble brag, that I got to watch that match with William Regal, which was kind of cool. And but I didn't know Jay Briscoe. I met him at Ric Flair's last match, and but I even told my wife after it was all over with, the Von Erichs were late. They had travel nightmares. They slept in the airport. One of them had food poisoning. The other one was jet lagged. And when they got there, the show had already started. We were supposed to go on third. They moved us to seventh. And but before, there was no big rush to get into what we're going to do in the match. They showed genuine concern for the Von Erichs' well-being. Hey, it was a real human element to it. And it just really stood out to me. They weren't what I expected. And you could tell they were genuinely good human beings. And I've been in a lot of locker rooms over 17 years, and it's not uncommon for someone to do a prayer before the show starts. But I don't recall very many times seeing the talent huddle up for a prayer before they go out. And that really struck me when they did that with the Von Erichs. And we were in gorilla position. So, like I said, I came out of that with a completely different perception of the Briscoes. Also, when I got the call, I had my choice of matches that night. Conrad had called me while I was at work, and I remember he said, "Hey, Dave, got a quick question for you. We're trying to put the format together. Need to know which match you want. Do you want the Horsemen versus the Rock and Roll, or do you want the Von Erichs versus the Briscoes?" And I said, "Well, that's a Soapy's choice, but give me the Briscoes." I didn't say give me the Von Erichs. I said give me the Briscoes, because by then I'd realized that they're one of the best teams in the world, and I wanted the opportunity to work with them. So that was my perception of them. So when I got the news yesterday, it was a gut punch, because also, I mean, with them, it's all about getting back to the family. And he was really thrilled that his son was there. You know, his son was at the event with him. So
Yeah.
I mean, I know family was important to him, and it's just a heartbreaking situation. And my heart's broken for them. Prayers to their family. I know they're having a tough time with kids. One of them's back may be broken.
Yeah.
It's just
in
sad situation.
car accidents are so just out of the blue and sudden and tragic. And we lost JYD in such a fashion, and it's just always just a shocker when things like that happen. Amy, what was your feelings on it?
I kind of, like Dave was saying, I felt like I had been punched in the gut. Like it's almost surreal. And now I don't know Jay or Mark, you know what I'm saying? I'm a fan, like most people. I mean, I don't know them, but I feel like, the world was robbed a little bit. And you look back at, just even that afternoon, Jay and Mark posted something on Twitter, and
New
then, like
merch.
you said, yeah, new merch. And you think about, they just got to be they were the ROH tag team champions with a new owner. And, there had been a bunch of hoopla about something, that was said, whatever, in the past. And they acted like that was, keeping them off TV, even though he had grown up. I never understand how one person makes a mistake and somehow that, crosses them off forever. But anyway.
Well, it just felt like at this point it was behind them. It was behind them, and they were getting to move forward with it.
Sky was the limit,
Exactly.
I think, in way. Yeah.
Do what, Justin?
Sky was kind of the limit with what they could have done over there.
Exactly.
And
exactly. And like you said, Dave, more than likely he was taking the kids to practice or running to go get something. They are right outside their house. I mean, very close. And I just, like you said, the amount of people that I see that are hurting, that makes me sad. All the different people that have put out posts, people that wrestled them, people, behind the scenes, in the fans, how genuine he was. They were talking about, there was a story, I think of Mark. I can't remember. Mark Say, is that right? Maybe not. He said that he put out on Twitter that they were working on the Ric Flair's last match, and he wanted his son there. You mentioned that, Dave, and that he.
Oh, Steve K.
Oh, Steve. Sorry, Mark. Oh, that's way off. But he was saying, he put that story out that, he wanted a lower fee if they would fly his son in so that his son could watch. And you think about that, his son's not going to get to watch him anymore. And I just, as a parent, as a person that's had someone young pass away in my life like that and left children, and knowing what, I want to cry, I'm sorry. And knowing what they're not going to get to witness and what those kids are going to miss out, it's just really, really sad.
But you know what it makes me think of too, Amy, is that little boy had that weekend at the last match, and that might give him inspiration for the rest of his life of how cool his dad was. That was one of his last memories.
Oh yeah.
When you think of it in that way, it's awesome that they got to have that weekend together. Josh, you have memories of Jay Briscoe?
Yeah, we never got to bring him into BIW, but so many of my guys have wrestled the Briscoes over the last 10 years or so. And just seeing all them posts on Facebook today and last night, you could just tell he was a good person because that
Mhm.
everybody knew they were great wrestlers. But for people to come out and tell these stories and share these moments and be heartbroken for it, that means he was a good person too. And as we know in wrestling, that's not always just because
Right.
you're a good wrestler doesn't mean you're going to be a good person. So for him to have this, it just tells you what kind of guy he is. And people forget he was a heck of a singles wrestler too. I mean, he
Yeah.
was Ring of Honor World Champion for years.
Yep.
Mhm.
And I mean, he was that good as a singles guy too. So I mean, he could do both things. I know that's not important with everything that's happening, but just to raise up his memory.
Kind of
That
just reminds you, I mean, the reaction on Twitter and obviously the amount of people showing their love for him, it almost reminds you of when Owen Hart passed away, just one of those good guys that people loved and I hate to see go away.
Mhm.
So,
What could have been, and shocked, and
yeah,
definitely.
They
so we
even
just
broke
want
in
to,
on NXT last night and mentioned it, and I thought that was very classy of
yeah,
WWE to do that.
I
Mhm.
saw that as well. So anyways, from all of us here at the Pondwater Dave Show, we want to extend our deepest thoughts and condolences and prayers toward the family of Jay Briscoe, and of course everyone else. Praying for everyone else to get healthy that was involved in that horrible accident. So, I don't want to act like that. It's easy just to move on, but we are going to move on because we got some stuff here to cover with our guest, and of course, like we have every single week, we have trivia from Miss
Woohoo!
Yvonne, and it's my favorite part of the show every week. I'm excited. What have we got? Have we got more Royal Rumble?
Yes, we are going to
Here we
do some
go.
more Royal Rumble, and so I really like this one. It's 15 questions, so it's a little bit longer, but it's called "My Relative Also Entered a Royal Rumble." Okay,
The
I like
I
Samoans,
think
they're all Samoans.
that's well. I think you're going to be able to pick some of these out, even though there's 15 questions. So, Josh, you gonna play with us?
I'll give it a shot.
Okay. It's multiple choice, so you got a 25% chance. So in the first question, I'm sorry, in 1988, two brothers entered the Royal Rumble match. Who were they? Was it Bret Hart and Jim Neidhart, B. Brian Blair and Jim Brunzell, Boris Zukov and Nikolai Volkov, or was it Jake Roberts and Sam Houston?
D.
D, because
I'm
that's the
going
only
with
set
D.
of brothers you named.
Exactly. That was the only two brothers I named.
Before she named the last one, Dave, I almost said, are we doing kayfabe brothers or real brothers?
It wasn't specific. So obviously Jake Roberts and Sam Houston are the sons of the former professional wrestler Grizzly Smith. Jake entered as number five, and Sam Houston entered as number 8.
There you
All
go.
right. In the 1989 Royal Rumble match, the father entered at number 30 and was the runner up to Big John Studd. In the 2009 Royal Rumble match, this son was one of the last 4 participants remaining.
I
Who
know
was
who it
this?
is. I don't even need it.
You tell me.
It's Cowboy Bob Orton.
Bob Orton, that's what I was thinking.
That was the first one that came to mind.
Me too.
You are all wrong.
What?
Oh, it's Ted DiBiase.
Oh, it is. Yep.
It is Ted DiBiase.
Well, I was thinking that was my first name too, Dave, was Orton. And then I thought he never went out second in the Rumble. And then I was like, yeah, it's DiBiase.
Well, it is
Orton
DiBiase.
was kind of in his heyday in mid to late 80s there. So
Well, what's interesting is that Bob Orton and Randy Orton are a choice. So it could have been, but Ted DiBiase Sr. entered the Royal Rumble in 1989, 1990, 92, and 93. He was the runner-up in the 1989 match, which we've talked about that before last week. Ted DiBiase Jr. entered 2009, 2010, and 2011, and he was one of the last 4 participants in the 2009 Royal Rumble match. These two brothers challenged for the World Wrestling Federation Tag Team Championship at the 1994 Royal Rumble pay-per-view.
Owen and Brett.
Despite losing the tag match, they both entered the Royal Rumble match later that night. Who are these brothers? That is correct. See, you thought this would be hard. I told y'all it wouldn't be as hard as you think it is.
We're gonna blow through these 15. This is gonna be an easy one.
Exactly.
We're gonna all leave here feeling good about ourselves.
Exactly. Well, just to let you all know, well, Justin will be able to tell us, but Brett and Owen unsuccessfully challenged the Quebecers.
They got in a fight at the end, which started the feud.
Exactly. Owen turned on Brett after the match by kicking him in his injured knee.
I kicked his leg out of his leg.
Both Owen and Brett entered the Royal Rumble that night. Brett overcome the odds to become the co-winner with
Lex Luger.
Very good. All righty. In the 1990 Royal Rumble match, this father entered at number 30 and was runner-up to Hulk Hogan. In the 2011 Royal Rumble match, the son entered as a member of the new Nexus at number 13. Who was this father-son duo? Was it Ted DiBiase?
Yeah, I mean, we just did that.
Do you want me to read the
No.
options? You are wrong, Super
You're
Dave.
Oh,
Would you like to hear the options?
I do.
yeah, I'm gonna Google
Dave's already been X'd out. He can't
I
win
got
this.
cocky.
You're getting us in
Cocky,
trouble.
y'all. I
Dave.
apologize.
He did get cocky, didn't he? He was like, "Let me feel good about myself." Ted DiBiase. All right. So Ted DiBiase, senior and junior were A, which you all do not pick. B is Kurt Hennig and Michael McGillicuddy. Mike Rotunda and Husky Harris, or Dusty and Cody Rhodes.
I'll go with D.
Yeah, I'm gonna go D.
Dusty and Cody Rhodes.
I can't picture anybody else being runner up to Hogan, so I'm gonna go Dusty.
I don't think Dusty was runner up because he wouldn't have went out with Hogan, two faces like that. That don't make sense. So I'm gonna go
Henny.
B.
Yeah.
Who are you both going, Dusty and Cody?
No, I went B.
Oh, you went B, Henning and McGillicuddy?
Yeah.
And Josh, who did you
I'll
want?
stick with D, but I got a bad feeling.
You should have gone with your bad feeling because it is Kurt Hennig and Michael McGillicuddy.
I talked myself right into that right answer, didn't I?
You did. Well, that's what y'all are talking about. Oh, I don't think he was runner up. I'm like, I said he was a member of Nexus. Like, think about who was Cody Rhodes was not a member of Nexus.
I know. I thought about that too.
But you're right. It says Michael
I couldn't
McGillicuddy.
remember. Other than Wade Barrett, I couldn't tell you who was in Nexus.
Oh, okay. Michael McGillicuddy entered as number 13, and he lasted for 15 minutes. His father, Mr. Perfect, entered the Royal Rumble matches of 1989, 90, 91, 93, and 2002. And he was the runner-up in the 1990 match.
90, yeah.
In the last, yeah.
Hogan threw him out easy.
Yeah. Jay Uso entered the 2012 Royal Rumble match at number 24. His father, Fatu, was a veteran of the Royal Rumble matches, entering under several different gimmicks.
Ooh.
Which gimmick did he not use as a Royal Rumble entrant? Okay. Head Shrinker Fatu, the Sultan, Rikishi, or
D.
Umaga.
Umaga, yeah, D.
Sorry.
Rikishi wasn't Umaga. Yeah,
That's why the answer is D.
Yeah, let's go D on that.
Umaga was his brother.
Yeah.
It doesn't. I know it, but it didn't look that way spelled. I don't know why I was struggling with that. Umaga entered the Royal Rumble match in 2008 and 2003 under the name Jamal. And then Fatu entered 93 and 94 as head shrinker Fatu. He entered the 97 as the Sultan. And then he was Rikishi into 2000 the Royal Rumble matches 2000 through 2004. He was Rikishi.
Yeah.
It says Fatu also entered the 1996 Royal Rumble match under the Make a Difference Fatu gimmick.
Oh,
Make
oh
a
yeah,
difference.
yeah. That's when he was like they were sending him out to like hang out with kids at the Boys and Girls thing or whatever
I apparently was not watching.
at the YMCA. They didn't do it very long, but they did
Yeah,
it.
I don't remember that at all.
They tried to
Yeah.
make him like I don't know, like the Rock blue chipper before that, just for like a
I'm
fleeting.
gonna have to Google
like,
that because I have no recollection whatsoever of that.
They didn't like push him hard or anything. It was just like they'd have a segment on a show like a Superstars and be like, here's, Fatu out with some kids at the YMCA. I don't know why.
So this is weird, but when Fatu was out, was he verbal? Was he talking? Because
Yeah.
the head shrinkers, they all,
Yeah.
the head shrinkers were not.
It's amazing when they become faces, they learn English.
They learned to work a crowd. Okay. Oh. Alberto Del Rio won the 2011 Royal Rumble match. His uncle entered the 1997 Royal Rumble match at number 11. Who is Alberto Del Rio's uncle?
Mil Mascaras.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is correct.
Yeah.
Thank you, because I didn't know.
I think his father is Dos Caros. Am I saying that right?
Well, you're asking us.
Yeah, you're the one who grew up in Texas, and you're asking us for this Spanish name.
Yeah, I guess so.
But you're right. He was number 11 in the 1997 Royal Rumble, and he lasted 7 minutes. He was inducted into the World Wrestling Hall of Fame in 2012. In the 1994
No
he did that night because he didn't win the Rumble.
That's right. In the 1994.
No, but you know what? There was a thing where like he got eliminated in a weird way, like he eliminated himself or something because he didn't want to do a job.
I might.
After
I
told
can
me
see
he
that.
like jumped over the top rope onto someone or something.
After told me he was the first masked wrestler to wrestle in Madison Square Garden. Because
he was notorious for not wanting to lose. That's very well documented. But
yeah, brother.
Well, New York had a rule that you couldn't wear a mask.
Yeah.
And even the mask he wore showed more of his lower part of his face. But the kicker on that is the spoiler had been wrestling up there without a mask. And then Mil Mascaras got to come in and wear one.
Why did they not like? I mean, what was it? It was an
Athletic Commission.
They didn't want a lot of people. I guess they wanted to know who they're dealing with.
I think what happened was Mil Mascaras convinced them that he was actually born with the mask and it doesn't come off. So they let him wrestle.
Well, he was buried in his mask, right?
When we talk to Josh later, we'll get into athletic commissions.
Oh yes, that'll be fun.
No, is it will?
Well, I mean, to talk to him about it, learn more.
It may not be fun for Josh to recollect.
Yeah, really.
Some of it's okay, and some of it not so much.
I can imagine. So in the 1994 Royal Rumble, brothers Scott and Rick entered 1 and 3. Oddly enough, another set of brothers entered the 2001 Royal Rumble match at 1 and 3. What set of brothers did
Matt
this?
and Jeff Hardy.
Yay! Matt and Jeff Hardy is correct. And like I said, they eliminated each other by accident 6 minutes into the match. Is that when Drew Carey came out?
Probably. I think so.
I think so. I think that's when Drew Carey came out because he was out there and then Kane came out. So the former National Wrestling Alliance World Heavyweight Champion Dory Funk Jr. entered the 1996 Royal Rumble match at number 8. His brother entered the 1997 and 1998 Royal Rumble match. Who is his brother?
Terry Funk.
Terry Funk.
Chainsaw Charlie.
Chainsaw Charlie. So in 1997, Terry Funk entered as number 24. That's a good number. And he entered the 1998 Royal Rumble match at number 2.
Yeah, because him and Mick started it.
Perry said, I went in as 24 and your mother's a whore.
And I gotta
Did he-
go because my horse is sick.
Exactly. That's what I was going to say. My horse is sick.
Oh.
Carlos Colon entered the 1993 Royal Rumble match at 24. He was a successful wrestling promoter in Puerto Rico and the patriarch of a talented wrestling family. Several of his children and nephews went on to become professional wrestlers in the WWE. How many of his relatives entered a Royal Rumble match between 2004 and 2012?
I'm gonna say 3. I'm gonna say 3.
Yeah, 3.
Josh?
I'm thinking 3 because there's Carlito and then the 2 younger
Primo and
brothers. Yeah.
You are all correct. It is Carlito entered the Royal Rumble in 2006 to 2010, and then Primo and his nephew Epico, Carlos's son Primo and his nephew Epico
Get your O's
entered
right.
entered the 2012 Royal Rumble match. Well, I was kind
Don't
of
forget SpaghettiOs and Oreos were in that
Nope.
Royal Rumble as well.
I don't remember Carlos Colon being in a Royal Rumble.
I don't either.
All I can
He-
my,
1993.
Yes, he was. I remember that now because you know why I remember it? Because Carlos Colon come out and he was like 40, and we'd never seen him on WWE TV before. And Gorilla goes, "Oh, look at this youngster!"
I just remember seeing him in the aftermags with it was always against Abdullah the Butcher.
Yeah.
I always thought Carlito could have been a world champion, like somebody that they really rode with and pushed to the top. He had everything.
Yeah,
I agree. I was about to see him come back in last year's Royal Rumble.
Well, when he came back, could you believe how good he looked?
I know.
And he's
I
doing
mean,
stuff.
He was shredded.
Doesn't Mike Chioda do stuff with him in Puerto Rico?
Well, yeah, he does.
Or
He
who
goes
is
down
it?
there and works, but he hasn't for a while. I think after COVID. Yeah.
The reason why I kind of got a little sidetracked because Mil Mascaras, I looked it up. Mil Mascaras did eliminate himself in that.
That's what I thought. I swear I'm not making this up.
No, I just happened to I typed it because I wanted to see, and it was like, yes, he actually
Did
eliminated
he jump
himself.
off the turnbuckle onto someone or something?
I didn't see what he did.
Okay.
I just saw they said he has the distinguish of being one of the wrestlers who
Royal Rumbles
themselves.
were always my favorite pay-per-view as a kid. So these are the ones that I've
Yes.
watched the most on tape when I went to the video store. So like,
Oh,
I don't make it a habit to crap upon legends, but when Mil Mascaras showed up in Dallas and I went and saw him wrestle, the hype was greater than the performer.
yeah.
I think it
I mean,
depends
the
on
presentation. It was one of those deals where the presentation was pretty fabulous, but then the bell rang, and I wasn't impressed with. He prissed a lot and pranced.
Yeah.
And I just the lucha style was apparently not for me.
It was foreign to you at the time, for sure.
Yeah.
how
He
old
was
was
one-
he
In more
at that
ways
time?
than one.
How old was Mil Mascaras? I mean, like he had. I wonder if it was because he had kind of developed that reputation and like he could just do what he wanted. Like I didn't know if it was like he was younger when you saw him, or was he maybe a little bit older and kind of had already.
Well, it was 40 years
You know.
ago. I don't know how old he is.
Oh, I don't either.
I think it depended on who he was in the ring with, because there were some guys like Jumbo in Japan that they would go 30 minutes and it was great.
Mhm.
But then there was guys that didn't have that name that he would just eat up and the match was horrible. And it was supposed to be a good match in, say, Texas, but Mill didn't know who it was, so he just kind of ate him up a little bit, and not that entertaining.
I'm
Well,
pretty
like
sure
you
I
said,
saw
if
him
he-
in a tag match.
They had a famous tag team. I think Dos Carras, or I know I'm butchering the name, but him and Mill, they traveled all over the world together, tag team.
Alberto's dad? No. Is that who you're talking about?
I think so, but don't get me quoting. But
Of course,
I think so.
Alberto could have been Dos Caras in Mexico because he was masked and then went WWE unmasked.
Mm-hmm.
And I liked Del Rio too. If he was just a little more normal outside the ring, who knows? Who knows what would have happened with him too?
Yeah.
Very, very true. All right, on to Eddie. Eddie Guerrero entered the 2005 Royal Rumble match at number 1 and entered the 2003 Royal Rumble match at number 14. His nephew also participated in the Royal Rumble match on multiple occasions. Who was this nephew?
Chavo Guerrero Jr.
Why, you are correct. Chavo Jr. entered the Royal Rumble match in 2003, 6, 7, and 8, and number 11. He had a memorable spot in the 2011 Royal Rumble match. He honored his late uncle by performing Eddie's Three Amigos move on Daniel Bryan.
I
His
love
son was in the 2021.
I was like, who?
I love Chavo Guerrero's dad's name, Chavo Classic. There's no better name than that right there. Chavo Classic.
That is a pretty awesome name. Husky Harris entered the 2012 Royal Rumble at number 9. His father played an evil heel wrestler who entered the Royal Rumble matches in 1992 and 1993. Can you name him?
IRS.
That is correct. Irvin R. Shyster entered the Royal Rumble matches. Oh, at
Just hearing
1992.
Amy say his name was funny to me. I don't know why.
Irvin R. Shyster. He entered the 1992 and 1993 Royal Rumbles at the number 18 in both of them. That's kind of neat. He went on to wrestle singles matches in 1994 and 1995. He challenged Razor Ramon for the Intercontinental Championship in 1994, and then he faced The Undertaker in the 1995 pay-per-view. All righty. Wait. Gets a little bit harder, I think, now. This brother team made their World Wrestling Federation pay-per-view debut in the 1995 Royal Rumble match. Who were they? Is it Timothy Well and Stephen Dunn? Is it Eli and Jacob Blue? Jimmy Del Rey and Tom Pritchard? Or Henry and Phineas Godwin?
I'm gonna go Eli and Jacob.
I'm gonna go Godwin's.
I'm gonna go Godwin's.
Eli and Jacob Blue made their World Wrestling Federation pay-per-view debut in the 1995 Royal Rumble match. Eli entered as 3 and Jacob entered as 14. They returned to the WWF in 1997 as members of the Disciples of the Apocalypse stable and entered the 1998 Royal Rumble.
And then they became Jeff Jarrett lackeys, stooges. Hey, Dave, my mid-90s is showing right now.
Is that Ron and Don Harris?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
So you might want to tuck that back in, Justin, your 1990s.
I know. That's why I'm coming through. That's why I'm coming through strong today. You're asking a lot of 93 to 96 Royal Rumble questions.
See, and I was watching the good stuff on TBS at the time.
Dashing Cody Rhodes was in the final 4 participants in the 2009 Royal Rumble match. Cody Rhodes has several relatives entering the Royal Rumble match between 1988 and 2012. How many of Cody's relatives entered the Royal Rumble match between 1988 and 2012? Bonus if you
I
can
can
name
only
them.
think of the 2. I don't know of any more. Is there any more? It's just 2, right? Do we count Sapphire? Did she ever get in?
Well, I don't think that was ever his stepmother. So
they never put Brandy in there. So
yeah, I'm gonna go Deuce.
What do you think, Josh?
Did Marlena ever get in while she was married to they
I
weren't
don't
doing
think
roles
so.
back then, I guess. So
I
yeah, I
don't
think
think-
two.
Does everybody say two?
Yep.
Y'all are missing some uncles.
Oh, yeah. Uncle Tugboat. There's 3.
Oh,
Uh-huh.
And
You're missing another uncle.
Uncle. Who has the other one?
Dave, you're a
Dave-
Texas guy. You should
I was
know
gonna
this.
say, Dave, you ought to know this.
Well, you got Cody's father, obviously the American
At
Dream,
least I got Uncle Tugboat.
Uncle Tugboat.
I mean, Uncle Shockmaster.
Let's call it
Uncle Fred. Uncle Fred.
Uncle Fred. Dusty Rhodes entered the 1990 Royal Rumble at number 10. And then, of course, Dustin Rhodes was Gold Dust, and he entered 97, 98, 99, 2002, 2003, 2006, and 2009. Uncle Fred Ottoman, or Tugboat, entered
Or
the 19
Shockmaster.
or Shockman. He in the for the Royal Rumble, he was
Oh,
Tugboat.
sorry.
Actually, you know what? That's
He was
he
also
entered.
Typhoon.
Yes, I was going to say in 1991 he
Yeah.
was Tugboat, and 93 he turned to Typhoon.
Yeah.
Cody Rhodes' uncle Jerry Saggs
Oh,
entered the
they let Jerry Sags
1992.
marry into that family. What's wrong with them?
I believe
You know,
like Dusty's. I
I
believe
I was
that
racking my brain. I couldn't think.
wasn't he married to like Dusty's sister, or maybe Dusty's wife's sister? Anyway, entered the 1992 and 1993. Now I
That's
gotta
the
look
trick
up.
question. She'll get us with a trick question every
Yes, every so often.
time.
I never
I
knew that
knew.
Jerry Sags was married into the Rhodes family. I had no idea.
Yes,
You learn something on this show. This is why you listen to the Pondwater Dave show, ladies and gentlemen. You learn things you did not know before.
Dusty and Sags were married to sisters. Sags' sister-in-law, well, I guess I assume that could be.
Oh,
Sags' sister-in-law was married to the late pro wrestler Dusty Rhodes. So, however, that worked out.
so his wife, Sags's wife, was uh, was the sister of the brother that married. Right? Say it again. Say it one more time.
Dusty's wife
All right, come
and
on, let's move on.
Sags's wife were sisters, is what it sounds
Yeah.
like to me.
That's what I mean. Okay.
And
Dusty's
maybe
wife,
still, because he's only been married to one person, it looks like. Okay, anyway. In 2001, the Honky Tonk Man entered the Royal Rumble as number 12. The Honky Tonk Man's second cousin had just been eliminated from the match. Who was the second cousin of the Honky Tonk Man whom had just been eliminated in 2001?
Jerry Lawler.
Second cousin.
Oh,
Brian Christopher.
Grandmaster Sexy.
there we go. I was on the right path. Yeah.
You
Thanks
were
for
on the
taking
right
the bullet
path.
on that one because I was going to say Lawler too.
No, you're right. The Grandmaster Brian Christopher is the son of Jerry Lawler and the second cousin in Honky Tonk Man. He came in at number 11 and was eliminated from the match by Kane just before Honky Tonk came out.
You know,
All right,
I will
last
say
one.
Chavo Classic is a great name, but Grandmaster Sexy is right underneath of it.
Sexy. Yeah. I don't know. It could be 1A, 1B. I'll have to think about that. All right, last one. In the 19, and I would almost, I can't wait to see if y'all know this answer. In the 1996 Royal Rumble match, saw an appearance by a tag team consisting of twin brothers, Manuel and Victor Santiago. What was the name given to this team?
What year?
1996.
I thought you said that, and that makes me mad because I don't think I know. Okay, say their names one more time.
Manuel and Victor Santiago. I can give you choices if you want me to.
I feel like is
We're
this
going to need them.
is this the beginning of the Los Berweekwas?
No.
No,
That's
okay.
not a, that's not even an
Too
option.
early for the
All right.
Pixie Cools.
That's what I was thinking. All right, give us some options.
The Ding Dongs,
No.
the Los
Oh, bro.
Conquistadores, the Squat Team, or the Pit Bulls.
Okay, I'm gonna go Los Conquistadores, but I know the squat team. I think the squat team was in there.
In
I'm gonna go squat
1996,
team. I'm gonna go squat team.
Dave.
I'm going Conquistadors.
Yeah, I think it is that.
What,
Josh,
what do
I'm
you
gonna
think
go
it is?
I'm gonna go Conquistadors.
What do you
Yeah.
think it is, Justin?
What team?
Nobody wants the Ding Dongs. Like, I'm really
No.
surprised with y'all.
I'm gonna go with the squat. I'm gonna stick with my answer.
Yay, Justin! Go with your gut. It is the Squat Team.
Yeah.
They entered 1996 Royal Rumble match. Manuel and Victor Santiago competed internationally as a professional wrestling team under the name the Headhunters.
I
But
remember
here-
the squat. Yeah, they were the head. Yeah, that's right.
The Squat Team. What a name.
Yeah, I never understood that. I was actually listening to a podcast and they were talking about that the other day, but I couldn't remember if this was the same year, 96, but why they put them under that weird name just randomly for a Royal Rumble.
I
Never-
know. What does that mean, you know? So that is my relative was in the Royal Rumble trivia.
Wow. Thank you. That was fun, Amy. We appreciate it every week. Thank you for putting, your hard work and effort into researching all that for us every week. It's always a very fun part of the show. And especially I enjoy Royal Rumble trivia. It's probably my favorite that you've done so far.
you've done well at it. We're gonna have to move back to some
Some hard
NWA or
stuff.
something so I can
Well, it sucked.
I
when she
assert
will.
was
my
doing-
dominance.
It sucked when she was doing Survivor Series crap because then I'm like, I don't know any of these
I don't even
teams.
like the Survivor Series.
Nobody
Well,
does.
Exactly. Well, like we talked about, Royal Rumble is my absolute favorite, even above
Me too.
WrestleMania. Like, so this kind of trivia I really enjoy. I don't want to give my partner away, but there is a entity that helps with
I
this
think I
trivia.
know this short redheaded person you're speaking of, but I'm not going to bring up his name.
But I do want you to know that there is an entity that does help. I do not do this alone. So
Well, however
just
you
so
get
you
it
know.
done, we're having a good time with it.
right.
Exactly. It is really fun. Like I said, I like to check it out too.
Well,
All right.
now we're gonna talk to Josh. I work for Josh. I've been working for Josh for 9 years. This is my 9th year with you. I mean, counting the 2 years I took off, but
Yeah, I'm not what year did you start with us?
2014.
Okay. We started in 2007.
Yeah,
so-
you were in the NWA when I started with you.
Okay. That was a fun 2 to 3 year window we had.
I enjoyed it.
So let me ask real quick, Josh, how did you find Dave? Like, how did that connection come about?
Wow. I don't know if I remember exactly
I think
how.
Dalton and Dalton and
Who's-
some of the Dallas guys that were working for you put a word in for me.
I mean, I
Dalton
definitely
Castle, Dalton who?
Oh, Andy Dalton.
Andy Dalton.
I definitely heard of Super Dave through some of the Dallas guys before he actually came over and rep for us.
And you still
Um,
hired him, even though you'd heard about him?
Yeah, yeah. It's one of those deals. We always have a carload out of Dallas. So if you can hop in that carload, it makes it easier for the wrestlers, but also me. It just kind of makes it better for everybody. So, but the carload thing didn't last long with Dave because he was going to bring the wife. Like they were coming together. It wasn't going to be six
Well, I was
wrestlers
already
and
here.
Dave piled out. Were you already here by the time?
I'd already moved here.
Okay.
Matter of fact, Kyle Davis is the one that told me that I should he told me your name and told me I should reach out to you.
Okay. I remember Kyle.
Yeah.
It's been a long time since I heard that name though.
He's
Long
with the
time.
NWA, right? He's with
Not
the
that Kyle
NWA.
Davis.
Oh.
No. This was Kyle Davis from PCW in Arlington.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he's not the same Kyle Davis.
I got you. But that is Kyle Davis with the NWA, right?
Right.
Yeah.
That is a Kyle Davis. Okay. I'm going to shut up now. Sorry.
I'm going to go ahead and ask a question. I have a
Uh,
question real quick for Josh.
Yes,
How
sir.
did you get involved, in promoting it to begin with?
Well, in 2007, that's when we started. I went to a few different independent shows and thought it was something that I might could bring to this area that people would like, and I thought it would be easy. Mind you, that was 15 years ago. I just turned 40, so I'm a 24, 25-year-old kid making $11, $12 an hour, and I'm like, man, this will be my next job. I'm going to do this.
tell
I
us
thought
the
you
area.
said I thought you said that you were 40 15 years ago. I'm like, man, you
No.
look great.
I just turned 40 last week, so.
Happy
But,
birthday.
thank you, thank you.
Hey, when's your birthday?
What
Because I
area?
had a
What
birthday
area,
last
Josh?
week.
January 13th.
Oh, okay, mine's the 7th, so we're close. I'm 2 years behind you, though. I'm not quite to 40 yet.
I don't feel any different, so you're all right. You'll be okay. I don't feel any different. But in 07, I'd kind of got the thought that I could maybe do this. So I got in touch with a local wrestler named Cassidy Riley, who's been on TNA. He's been to WCW. He's been to WWE Developmental. He was on that Ring Warrior show that came on WGN for a little while. I got in touch with him, and he said he agreed to help me because I didn't know anything. I was 24, don't know anything. Well, he got signed to WWE right before our show, like 2 or 3 months out. So, and I'd already put money into advertising, the building, and all these things.
And
So
Vince
he got
usually
me.
lets these guys honor stuff that they had already contractually agreed to before they start, right? Doesn't he usually let them do that, I think, most of the time?
Now they're a little more leeway on that, but back in 07, it was the day they sign you. You better get your butt up there pretty quick. Of
Okay.
course, that situation wasn't as good as this was OVW. So like the early days of OVW. So it's not like the NXT situation where it's
Right.
decent pay, nice
Mhm.
hotel. They got you set up good with the training facility. It was still a grind back then.
Yeah.
So I mean, he was gone within a week. So he got me in touch with Dr. Death, Steve Williams, who was living in Shreveport, an hour up the road at the time. So I got in touch with Doc, and he agreed to kind of help me through the first show. And it was a train wreck, as you can expect the first show would be. But Doc stayed in touch with me. Like, he didn't have to, but he would call and say, hey, what are you doing for your next show? What's going on? Have you did this?
So
Have
cool.
you put flyers out here? Have you did signs here? Try this thing. And he didn't have to do that. I only booked Doc 3 or 4 times before he passed away, but we spoke probably 20 or 30 times. So he
Mhm.
didn't have to go out of his way all those extra times to help a kid
Right.
that made him 3 times.
Where
He stayed at
was your
our
first show, Josh?
May of 2007. Dr. Death was on it against Dawan. Doc wasn't supposed to wrestle. He was supposed to just do a Q&A. He'd stayed at our house the night before, played golf with my stepdad. We took him to Logan's, and the whole, like, everybody just kind of stopped because Doc's been off TV long enough that they didn't, like, know him, but they knew that was somebody. Like,
Yeah,
they
he
knew
had that
somebody
presence.
was in Logan's. So people kind of looked, and finally somebody was brave enough to come over and say, are you that Oklahoma guy? They know him from Oklahoma stuff, not wrestling. And he said, yeah. And he talked. And then slowly people started coming over and getting pictures or talking to him, reliving a childhood memory. But Doc was great with all that.
Kind of
I put it.
answered it. You kind of answered it, but I want to kind of ask you something else about that real quick before you move on. Your relationship with Doc and the way he treated you. I know, Jim Ross talks a lot about Steve Williams and the type of person he was. He showed that to you too. Can you kind of give us any insight on just how your interactions went with him?
If he wouldn't have helped us, there's no way I would have made it past 2 or 3 shows because we lost more than a 24-year-old making $12 an hour could afford to lose on that first show. And if
Right.
he wouldn't have kept reaching out and doing things, we would have folded after the second show. But he helped me learn where to spend money, where not to, what's important, cut your match card down. You don't have to have all this. So him, Skandar Akbar, Dusty Wolf, or some of the old names that if they wouldn't have took time, there's no way we would still be doing shows in 2023.
Right.
I owe Doc everything as far as Bayou Independent Wrestling does. I learned more from Akbar because I got to be around him more later as far as just setting and picking his brain and running numbers and knowing what to do. but Doc helped more than anybody in the initial. So if it wasn't for him, and like I said, he wasn't even supposed to wrestle that night.
Well, did Doc already know he was sick at this time, or?
He had already beat cancer. He already had his throat thing, and he wasn't even supposed to wrestle. But Rodney Mack and Jazz actually couldn't make it, and they were in the main event. And Doc said, "I brought my gear," and he said, "You know what'd you agree to pay them?" And I told him, and he said, "All right, well you pocket that, and I'm gonna go wrestle in your main event." He didn't even make me give the pay that he knew that I had put back for Rodney and Jazz because he knew I'd already lost money.
That's
So I mean, Doc could have pocketed even more than what he brought home. Now the next time we had him in, he did over $1,000 in merch. So I think he was pretty happy just
right.
just coming and doing stuff. So
No, that's awesome. I mean,
That
and you know,
is.
did your promotion have his last match?
no, we didn't. He wrestled Franco D'Angelo, and I believe it was in Colorado.
Okay.
I do think we were Akbar's last manager appearance. There
Mhm.
might have been one more after us, but he was booked to come back and passed away. And of course, we didn't get to do that. But we used Akbar a good bit because he was in that Dallas area. And then the whole time Doc was in Shreveport, we tried to use him every third or fourth show, best we could.
That is so awesome.
So
That
your
really
first show
is.
was in Shreveport?
First show was West Monroe.
Okay, you did run West Monroe.
Yeah,
Where were
West
you
Monroe
running
was-
then?
Our very first show was at the West Monroe Rec. They
The same place we are now.
right down the street from it.
Oh,
We've been in 4 different places in West Monroe over the last 15 years. The Rec was our first one. Then we went to West Ridge Middle School. Then we went to the Boys and Girls Club, and now we're at the West Monroe Convention Center.
okay.
And we've been there for 8, 9, 10 years, somewhere along there.
Yeah, that's the only place I've been since with you in West Monroe.
Yeah, so at least the last 8 or 9. And it's the perfect setup for us. We love it there. So hopefully we'll do another 10 years of going to shows there.
Well, we're packing it out pretty regular. Is there going to be a need for a bigger venue, or or is it just working
well-
ideally there?
Well, that kind of goes into a commission issue. You have an A and a B license in Louisiana, and with a B license, you can do shows for, I would say, $800 to $1,500 cheaper, but you have to tap out at $400 unless you're at a school. Unless you're at a high school, you can do more. So we're just going to be content selling out our $400 every show, and because we've had a streak of about 8 to 10 now that we've hit that number, so we're just going to keep doing that. You can rent another part of that building and hold another 300 or 400, but then we wouldn't be able to do a Class B show. Yeah, I'd have to have more money, doctors, ambulances, a lot more things going on that cost money and stress me out. There's things like the doctor, for example. So you line up a doctor 2 months out. Everything's good. You've agreed on a number. His kid loves wrestling. He comes, eats your pizza, watches the show. We get an RN to do the blood pressure. Doctor doesn't have to touch anybody or do anything. Day of the show, 12 o'clock. There's a vehicle accident, and the doctor has to go do emergency surgery on a Saturday, and he now can't make your show. You tell the commission. The commission says, well, if you don't find a doctor in 4 hours, you're going to have to cancel. You already have all your tickets sold, your sponsors. I mean, I get 15 to 20 sponsors for a West Monroe show. You got your radio, you got your newspapers already been done. You've sold your 400 tickets. The wrestlers are on their way because a lot of them come from 8 to 10 to 12 hours away for our shows. So if I get this call at lunch, wrestlers are already on the way. I still have to come up with the money for all this, whether they cancel the show or not. So I can't tell you how many times I've been stressed on a Saturday trying to find a doctor, and it has to be an MD. Doctors don't like to give up their Saturdays. They work hard during the week and they make good money.
A lot of them golf on Saturdays.
Right. They want to spend time with their family or go play golf or go out of town. So it's hard to find a doctor last minute on a Saturday. And we've been blessed that only one show in all these years got canceled, but I've been close to them getting canceled on a few different occasions, and it was always because of the doctor. So if I can do something to where I don't have to have a live doctor in the building, I'm going to do it. So if I got to keep the shows at 400,
On the B license, do you still have to have like a EMT or something there?
You have to have somebody with a CPR license.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Also, you don't need the ambulance and all
I
that.
don't need an ambulance. And see, the funny thing about the ambulance is, because I had a Class A license for 13 years. So, I mean, I've done all those things for many, many shows. But with the Class A license, I get my ambulance there. If something happens, I have to call another ambulance and pay for another ambulance because that ambulance can't leave by law. So now I have to pay for 2 ambulances, even though one's already there. So why not just call one when something happens, since I'm going to have to pay for one anyway?
Yeah.
Right.
So instead of having to pay for 2 ambulances, just let me call one when something does happen.
That is weird. I mean, you would think they would let the ambulance that is there leave while another one gets put on the way to finish. You know
Right.
what I mean? But I guess
Right.
that's not allowed.
Nope, it's not an option.
Yes. So then are you CPR certified? Did you just do it yourself?
I used to, but we have several fans that come to the shows that are either RNs or
Oh, that's
EMTs
good. Oh, cool.
or different things. Heck, 2 of my wrestlers have their Cassidy's an RN, and then Vordell, he's a firefighter. So we got that part covered. It's just, with the commission, you have to do it a certain way
If
with the Class A.
If Pondwater Dave was a real referee and not a gimmick referee, he'd have to have his CPR license too. Because as a basketball referee, I have to have my CPR license.
I had mine for years. I worked at a psych hospital for about 10 years, and of course, had to keep it up that whole time. So
I
What'd you do at
learned
the
it. I
site?
mean, it's just staying alive. Stop. Staying alive. Staying alive.
Yeah. Could you have one of your wrestlers, Josh, do CPR on me and not the ref? Because I don't know how well I'd be living if he's singing the song.
If Pondwater Dave gave Andre the Giant CPR, he'd just get on his chest and start jumping up and down with his feet.
Hey,
we usually
anything
send
to start it,
Cassidy.
right?
Anytime there's an emergency, we usually send Cassidy. So
we had one not too long ago that Cassidy had to go out to check on somebody.
Yeah, and sometimes it ends up being nothing, but we still send him out there. Somebody had fallen in the bleachers,
right,
and their knee was hurt. But then the family's like, "Oh, they fall 10 times a day, and that knee pops out of place. It'll be all right." So we were worried, but they were like, "No, this happens all the time."
Now, like, can I get that on tape? No.
I assume you guys do kind of have some type of security that you pay for.
Yeah, and it depends on the building. We do shows in Louisiana, Mississippi, and Arkansas. So some buildings you have to have cops. Some they give you a list of security guys that you can use, and you have to use one of that group. And then some let you kind of do your own. Some will let you have big college football players, play security for a night. So it just kind of depends.
Yeah, I know. I had a friend that used to be security for an independent wrestling promotion in New Jersey, and they basically just had their own guys at the same building every week, kind of.
Right.
So, but yeah, when you're moving building to building, I'm sure that changes.
And were you saying the building is the one who would tell you what kind of security you need to have, or was it as a commission in the state?
At some of them, it's the building. And then the commission doesn't really get too involved in the security. They want to make sure you have a rope up or a barricade. They want to make sure you kind of have the right, amount of people as far as, like I said, 400 or under for Class B. But really the building is usually going to be the one to tell you what you got to have. Like the West Monroe building, since they sell alcohol there, they make us have 2 cops for 400 people. Yeah. If we were going to go up above 400, we'd have to have a 3rd cop.
Sure. So when you talk about Class A and Class B, is that the same across the states, or is it different?
Very few states still have a commission.
Okay.
There's very few states that still have a commission. You're looking at, and I'm going to leave out a few, but you're looking at like New York, Virginia, Oklahoma, Louisiana. I believe Alabama still has one, in Missouri. So there's probably 8 to 10 commissions in the whole United States for wrestling.
Okay.
Have you thought about moving it to a state where you wouldn't have to screw with that?
Well, that's why I started Mississippi.
Oh, that's why you went to Mississippi. Okay, yeah.
The very first Mississippi show was because I didn't want to deal with a commission anymore. And for the most part, I have a good relationship with the
Sure.
commission. But the bottom line is a show in Louisiana cost me X, and a show in Mississippi or Arkansas cost me $1,200 or $1,500
Yeah,
less.
that's what I'm saying. When it comes to cold hard cash, that's what matters in the end.
Right. So
Now,
I mean,
Josh, let me ask you. They don't go down to the high school and regulate the high school musical or the drama club. So how is it we can't get around the commission the same way Vince got around the commissions?
well,
I have a hard time believing that WWE has to jump through those hoops.
they don't have to jump through as many hoops, but they cut the commission a very nice check at the end of every show.
Okay.
You know, I mean, WWE cuts a much different size check than Bayou Independent Wrestling does to come and do a show, so they can have a little more leeway on their setup. Arkansas fought it a few years ago and they got it disbanded, but the guy that fought it is still paying court fees and stuff like that. So I don't know if he feels like he won for himself.
Well,
He won for guys like me, but I don't know if he feels like he won, for himself. It's just one of those things. If you have enough money, you could probably do something to get it done. But I mean,
yeah.
who's it worth it to? There's only 8 to 10 promoters in the state of Louisiana.
And there was one that fought them pretty hard, and when they thought they had it won, they found out they didn't have it won, and they don't run in Louisiana anymore.
Right. So, and again, I want to say that they've mainly treated me with respect and good. We've had a few issues here and there, but for the most part, I've got along with them good. Just the bottom line is the money stuff.
Right.
Sure.
That's the bottom line of it. And it is easier for me to do things in Mississippi and Arkansas, but West Monroe is my home, so we're always going to do shows in Louisiana.
And it seems like that West Monroe's our hottest town.
Yeah.
And that doesn't disparage the other towns, because I mean, we don't go to a town that's not, but our fans are very, very rabid fans. They're passionate wherever we're at.
Yeah, and we're growing in Fountain Hill. It's so spread out because it's a high school gym and you got bleachers on both sides.
Yeah.
But our Fountain Hill crowds are actually just as good, if not better, than our West Monroe. But our West Monroe, everybody's jammed in. It's the only place that we have beer sales, so they get a little more, a little more energy, a little more oof in their step. We also get a lot.
No, go ahead. I'm sorry, Josh.
We get a lot more sponsors and stuff in West Monroe too. So, but Arkansas is our cheapest show. So it depends on what you want to count as, best, profitable, hottest.
Right.
There's all sorts of different levels. We're trying Vicksburg for the first time, February 4th. So that'll be interesting when I have no idea what to expect.
I'm glad you said February 4th.
Cool.
Vicksburg, Mississippi, right? February 4th. Check out Bayou Independent Wrestling. And we are talking, in case you're just getting here late, to Josh Newell, the owner and promoter of Bayou Independent Wrestling out of West Monroe, Louisiana. And you can catch them in Mississippi and all those states around there. My question for you, Josh, real quick, is how many shows do you do? Like, how often do you do shows, I guess?
We try to do 12 in a year. So we try and be somewhere every month. Now, that could mean we're off in April and I do a Saturday, Sunday deal in June, which is what we're doing this year. But we try and do 12 every year. In my younger days, we had some years where we did 18 and 20 and 21, and it was just hard. It's just hard to make money and do what you need to do and give each show the attention it needs when you're doing 2 a month and you're by yourself.
Let me ask you, when you're doing 1 a month like that, is it hard to continue storylines from show to show, or do you kind of start kind of fresh building up to each show, or how do you do that?
The biggest thing is each town will get a story. We have 4 towns, so each town will get a story, and we'll continue that all 3 or 4 times we're there for the year.
Gotcha.
But the alignments stay the same for every show. So if you're a heel in Vicksburg, you're going to be a heel in West Monroe. That way I can still tie everything in and, make the matches make sense. Because we have a lot of fans. We have 50 to 75 that no matter where we are, they travel to it.
Right.
So I don't want to insult those 75 people that drive 4 hours,
That's
5
where
hours.
that's where I was getting at that. Like, because you are going to have your hardcore fans, and like you said,
Right.
you want to give them something to go to, and build on each week or each time they see you, I should say.
This
So-
Saturday, we're in Fountain Hill, Arkansas. There's people driving from Florida to watch the show, and I take that very serious. Like they're spending $200 on a rental. They're getting a hotel room. They're buying 2 tickets. They're eating the food there. They're going to take a 2-day trip. Like that's a lot of money invested on an independent show that doesn't have any huge names on it. So
Right.
I take that very, very, very serious, and I want them to feel like they got their money's worth. So
Absolutely.
if they were watching a feud between Ray Fury and Jeremiah in Brookhaven, and they decided to drive to Arkansas, and now they're hugging, if I was a fan, I would be pissed off.
No,
I
I
would
can
be like,
imagine. Yeah.
what is this? What am I watching? This isn't good.
Right.
So I try to make sure we don't fall into that category, because a lot of places do, sadly.
I see. That's what I was wondering, because I'm not real familiar with how that whole process works. That's why I was wanting to get your take on that. Just because, it would be tempting. It would be not tempting, I should say. It would be hard because you don't know that you're going to have maybe this person in a month or whatever.
Right.
Now you've got to rework things. So do you have someone helping you with the booking and writing of it, or you just do it yourself?
No, I've been doing it myself the whole time. Now your veteran guys, your top guys, you'll lay out everything to them and hear their ideas, and usually the best idea is somewhere in the middle. It'll be a little bit of my idea and a little bit of their idea, and then we put it together, and in the middle was the best idea. But you have to be comfortable enough to say your ideas, listen to them, and then understand that your idea might need tweaking. A lot of people don't want to hear that or do that. They just think their idea, it's my money, I'm going to do what I want, I don't have to listen. But when you listen, A, everybody's happy and engaged and they want to do better. But B, that's usually the best idea. And that's in everything, not just wrestling. But you listen to the people you trust.
Right.
And then take it and go from there. And usually you come out with a better product.
Have you ever had any really difficult talent other than Pondwater Dave that refused to do a finish or something like that?
I've had one wrestler I've booked over 200 shows at this point. I've had one wrestler refuse to do a job, and we had to change it to a DQ.
And
Was it
Dave,
Bill
his name was
Mascaris?
not
No.
Dave, his name was not Bret Hart, Dave. It was not Bret Hart.
It
It was
wasn't Bret
Bill
Hart.
Mascaris. Bill Mascaris. He booked him for that and said, "Nope, not going to do it." No.
But see, with Mill, I would have known when I booked him that he wasn't
True.
going to lose, and we could have just saved. We could have saved all the argument. I would just make sure he gets his hand raised, and we'd be good.
Yeah.
But
That's why
I've
you're
had-
the promoter. That's why you're
I've
the
had
promoter.
one wrestler in all the shows do that, and I never used him again. I never talked to him again after that.
Yeah.
We got through that night, but it was over.
Right.
Well, let me ask you just real quick. So let's just pretend, forget commissions. I'm from Kentucky and Justin's from West Virginia / Ohio, whichever way he wants
I
to.
live in West
call-
Virginia. I'm from Ohio.
Whatever. What if we came to you and we said, you know what, we want to start a promotion in our area? What kind of advice would you give someone like myself or Justin, who have an idea, have an area, have a love for wrestling, and they want to become a promoter?
First, that it's not easy. Don't think that it's going to make you a ton of money. Don't think that 500 people are going to show up out of nowhere. It takes a lot of work, a lot of energy, a lot of effort. I've been doing this since 2007, and there's only 4 or 5 promoters in my area still promoting from when I started. So they come and go like crazy, especially around tax season. That's every single year. But the biggest thing would be, don't do it by yourself. Reach out. Are there other good, solid shows in the area that you might could team up with? Is there a wrestling school that has a reputable trainer that you might could reach out to and talk to? Just don't think that you can go into it and do it by yourself. You're going to need somebody with the wrestling experience and knowledge to help you. Otherwise, you won't make it to the second show.
It's kind of like flying a plane and never flying it and not having anyone to tell you what to do. Yeah, this is going to be easy.
And the fan perspective is great, and that's where everybody starts. I mean, wrestlers are lying if they tell you they weren't fans before they do what they do, because it's hard. Like, they beat themselves up for very little money. They loved it before they got started. So you have to start there, but that only gets you so far. The actual running of the show, the fandom doesn't matter at all. Actually, the fandom hurts you, because then you want to start saying yes to everybody. Oh
Yeah.
yeah, you can come, you can do this, you can do that. Now your budget's overblown, or your show's
Can't
4 hours.
can't be a mark
And
for your own business.
yeah,
You know, I
it,
mean,
a lot of independent shows go 4 or 5 hours. That's stupid. Like people's attention span doesn't last 4 or 5 hours.
Right.
It's not a good thing, and it doesn't make it good for you to come back. Like, the goal is to come back. So I need to give you 2 hours, have fun, let's come back. If I give you 4 or 5, a lot of you didn't even make it to the end of the show. A lot of you had to
Right.
leave for school, or your kids fell asleep, or whatever the case may be. You got bored, or you have work tomorrow, or church in the morning if it's a Saturday show. You're not going to stay out till 10, 11, 12 o'clock all the time. So you have to think about those things, plus your budget. If you have 10 matches, well, how many more people do you have to pay now than if you only had 6 matches and gave them 2 hours? And again, if you're not profitable, the odds of you coming back, not great. I mean, that's just part of it. So I would rather give them 5 to 6 quality matches and not do the pre-show thing, not have 10 managers, not have all this extra hoopla. Let's just do 5 to 6 solid matches, 2 hours of entertainment, go to the next town next month, come back to this town in 3 months.
and for an independent promoter like you, that's, you know, kind of in a small area, it doesn't make sense for you to bring in 2 or 3 referees. Like you told Dave that he's reffing every match. It makes sense, you know, financially for you to bring in Dave for the
Right.
day
And,
and
and
not have to worry
usually,
about it.
and usually we try and have two.
Yeah.
This particular show, he'll be the only one. Sometimes in Fountain Hill, he'll tell me, just let me do them all, because it's farther from his house, so he'd rather pay
Right.
him a little more.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So if he's the only ref, I can make
It's-
that envelope a little bigger.
And it's
got
it
only
makes Dave
6
happy.
matches max, sometimes 5, maybe 6. It's
Right.
not like I'm
6.
working. I've been on shows before that there's 10 when there's 10 matches and ended up being the only one there. And I love being in the ring, but you get
Yeah.
tired.
Right.
Yeah,
Plus, it's hard.
Yeah,
to,
we stop at 6, 5 sometimes, but 6 is the most you'll ever see at a BIW show. That way we can keep the pace, give the guys time to tell the story instead of asking them. Because some promotions will have 12 matches and then you see 4 of them are 3 minutes. Well, if there's no TV involved, why are we wasting time with a 3-minute match?
Right.
It doesn't help anybody. It's not helping them move merch. It's not helping the show. Just leave
Yeah.
them off and wait for an opportunity that they actually could come in and shine, instead of having them do a 3-minute match after driving 10 hours.
Yeah.
and then if he brings in a national talent, and
Yeah.
I've been on shows before that were the marathons. By the time you get to that main event, your crowd's leaving.
Right.
I mean, I've seen them leave before the main event, and then you've flown this man in from across the country because he's on television, and they didn't stay to see him.
Hmm.
I mean, or they're tired, or they're sitting on their hands, or they're complete. The ones that did stay, they're all worn out. It's just sometimes I think people think that they're giving their fans value by giving them more. It's like we were talking about last week with the moves about more and less. I mean, you know, putting a bow on it about less is more. Sometimes less is more. You get 6 good quality matches. Josh's promotion, I'll tell everybody that Bayou Independent Wrestling is my home promotion. I take bookings I'll turn down bookings. Hey, are you available this? No, I'm working for BIW. Nothing comes before BIW because I'm proud to be on that show. I know it's going to be 6 quality matches. Sometimes I get to do them all. Sometimes I only get to do half of them. But I mean,
We'll
it's
have James.
nice
We'll
to
have
be
James
involved
Beard
in
with you
something
this
like
year.
that. Huh?
We'll have James Beard with you this year a little bit, so
And-
that'll be fun.
And
So
I don't care how long I've been doing this. If I can work with somebody that I can still learn something from, and if you can't learn something from James Beard, I don't know if y'all know who James Beard is, but he's been around from back in the global wrestling days at the Sportatorium. I mean, James Beard is a legendary referee. that probably gets lost in the shuffle when you're mentioning your Hebners and your Tommy Youngs and your Charles Robinsons and your Mike Chiodas of the world. Beard's right there with them.
Yeah, I would put Beard in that same category for sure. 100%.
So, Josh, do you think you'll ever have FTR on a show? And can I work backstage if they are on that show?
If I ever do have them on a show, absolutely. But I can
Fabulous.
tell you the odds aren't great.
No, we're gonna think positive, Josh. We're gonna think positive.
Hey, Josh,
They
I'll
like
work that one.
independent wrestling.
I'll
Yes.
work that show for free if it'll help you out.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I'll go
Now we
get
can do it.
water. I'll do whatever I need to do backstage. I'll be there for you.
If Dave's
Well-
willing to work for free, then yeah, I can definitely swing that. That's for sure.
Well, I know one reason, Dave, why you consider this your home promotion, because just in the hour and a half of talking to Josh, I can tell you that he is a straight shooter and a good person. And those are the type of people you want to work for in a business like wrestling, because there are, I've never been in the business, but I know there's some a-holes out there. And I know that Dave wouldn't work for one. So Josh, and I can tell talking to you that you are honest and truthful and straight up with your guys. And that's the only way to do it. I do have one request though. We were talking before the show, you guys missed, we were talking a little bit before the show started that Dave, is planning to be taking a bump or two here soon. And if that's the case, I want it to be that one where the WWE referee hit the top rope, then the middle rope, then the bottom rope with the back of his head.
Hey, I want to do that. So I'm totally cutting this part. I'm going to cut this part out of the podcast. I totally, before I retire again, want to do that little.
Hey, do it with FTR. Let's just make this a whole big party. Like do that bump with FTR.
There you go. We got it figured out.
I mean,
Yeah.
I'm sure do a lot of people say that to you, like, just Josh, can you bring so and so in? Like, sure, let me see if I have $100,000 out back or whatever. Like, do you get requests? I guess.
I mean, when I'm putting up flyers, a lot of times I'll be in a town, Brookhaven, Mississippi, very, very small town. And people will literally come up and say, "Is John Cena coming?" Well, WWE's never been to Brookhaven. Y'all don't have a building big enough to have
Right.
WWE.
You
So
don't
what
just
makes you
say,
think-
but you don't say, well, come out and see if he shows up. I don't know. No.
No, back when UFC was real popular, that like when it was just getting real popular, I would have to fight people on that when I was passing out flyers, because they would be like, "Is it the real stuff or is it the other,
Yeah.
or if it's this or
Yeah.
oh,
Is
we
this
only
that
like
big time
UFC."
wrestling? Is this that Ric
Right.
Flair here?
So I would have to fight that more so than anything, more so than the who are you bringing in. Now, a lot of
Right.
people won't give you a chance if they don't recognize somebody on the flyer.
Right.
And I hate that. I hate that they have to see Jeff Hardy on the flyer or whoever. But a lot of people won't give it a chance. There's people that I've known that are wrestling fans the whole time I've been promoting that I'm just now getting to give us a chance. And they go, "What the heck? This is awesome." I'm like, "Yeah, I know. I've been trying to get you out here for 15 years." And they'll go, "Ooh, have you ever had such and such?" "Yeah, Lance Archer wrestled here 8 different times. Thanks. You could have seen him 8 different times wrestle here in West Monroe, Louisiana, and now you love him on AEW."
And
Or
what
Roxy.
people-
Right.
And
You know,
what people
Roxy's
need to
worked for us.
understand is when you actually go to an independent wrestling show, you just have fun. And no matter if you know the people or not, it's an enjoyable experience. I know, Dave and I went to one at Low Key Big Hog Weekend out of Huntsville, Alabama, and it was just a little fun time to go out and have fun. And I'm sure that's what your show is going to bring to people if they show up.
And a lot of times, once you see these guys, you go home and you Google them and you're like, "Oh, wow, they wrestled AJ Styles on a show." Or in Japan, like Steve Anthony was my champion for a long time. He won the NWA National Junior Cruiserweight belt in Japan in the Tokyo Dome, beating Jushin Liger. Nobody's ever heard of him, but he's done stuff like that. So if you go home and Google them, you'll see that they've wrestled the CM Punks, the Kevin Steens, the Aries. For a promoter to trust them to go into the ring with those guys that they spent that kind of money on, they're good. They're not a bottom level wrestler. They're right there at the cusp of making it. And then a lot of the guys we use have had AEW dark matches or had WWE extra spots or did Impact for a little bit. So
Thunder Rosa's been in BIW.
yeah. Well, I mean, the list goes on and on. I typed up our stuff for the commentator last night, and he wanted a list of a bunch of the different people that have wrestled in BIW over the years. And I was able to add about 60 to 70 TV talents for him to that list. So there's a lot of guys that have made it to the big scene that have wrestled for us.
Including Pondwater Dave. He's a TV talent. He was on
Exactly.
Fight TV, by God.
Exactly. So Josh, just real quick, do you know, kind of thinking about like the NWA in a sense, like, is there like a promoters association, or do you just have friends in the business, other promoters, or is there actually a group in your area or, you know, over the United States?
There are a few groups out there still. The AIWF, they've tried to get us in there over the years, but there's still a group that kind of works together. But for the most part, everybody's on their own. But you try and be respectful. So if you run shows in Baton Rouge, I'm going to stay out of Baton Rouge out of respect to you because I know you already do shows there.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if there's a town 30 miles outside of Baton Rouge that somebody calls me and says, hey, I want to bring you here, we'll pay X amount, you bring us some entertainment, I will call that Baton Rouge place and just say, hey, look, this is a paid deal. I'm going to take it. But I'm letting you know that it's 30 miles outside. I am coming into the area. If you want, y'all can come pass out flyers for your next show, you know, in Baton Rouge or something like that. But this is a paid deal. I don't think it's going to be a regular thing, but I'm going to take it. Just to have that courtesy conversation with them. Even though it's outside of their town, still it's close enough that I feel like they should know from me, not from social media, that we're going to be doing a show there and kind of what my intentions are. Now, not everybody's like that. There's bad ones too, just like in everything else. But most of us, like Louisiana has 8 to 10 licensed promoters, and 6 of us have been around a long time. Mm-hmm. So we all kind of know each other, can reach out, touch base, and make sure we at least try to work together on stuff when possible. And it's better for the wrestlers too. They can get more. They can get more dates if we're coordinating. Yeah. And making sure we're not always running on the same day or trying to do the same towns or anything like that.
If you work for him, you can't work for me, kind of thing.
Sadly, there are a lot of promoters that do that, but I'm not one of them.
Right.
You know, I don't care who you work for, what you do.
It happens.
You know, it's how you treat me.
Sure. So do people contact you to say, hey, can you come do a show in this area for us? Or is that common, or is that even how you found some of your new places that you're going to?
Yeah, we've Vicksburg will be our 19th town that we've ran a show in our 4th state, because we used to do some stuff in East Texas as well. But a lot of times, like a comedy club might call you and they might need entertainment. We used to do a deal in Shreveport at the Funny Bone. Thursday, Friday, Saturday, they would have their big comedian come in, like a Brad Williams, an Eddie Griffin, a D.L. Hewley. But on Wednesday, they were black. They needed entertainment. So they would have us do Wednesday, and then the comedian would come to our wrestling show and hang out with us. But then they would do their set Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Festivals a lot of times need entertainment. Casinos, schools looking for
fundraising. I was going to say, I know a lot of times around here, like when here in Huntington, they have a big festival thing, and sometimes they'll throw up an independent show in right out there in the street where they got the streets blocked off.
Yeah, and wrestling is a great fundraiser. It's a tremendous fundraiser where, you know, what's that school? Is Saline?
Saline High School's brought us in, I'd say 8 or 9 times, and they've never not made money off bringing us in for the fundraiser deal. We've always been their biggest fundraiser every year that they bring in. Now there's a little work to it, so we might not be their easiest fundraiser, but we bring in the most. We bring in the most funds for them every year. COVID stopped that for us. They haven't reached back out since COVID, but before COVID, we went once a year, every year, and it was always profitable for them. It raised money for their junior class to do a junior prom, and I think sometimes they did a little trip off of it.
Awesome! That's so cool.
But wrestling is wrestling traditionally, even when I was a kid, has always been a fundraiser. I mean, when I would watch World Class, it would they tell you where they were going to be all week, and at like Bishop Lynch High School for the Bishop Lynch Booster Club, or
Right.
I mean, or this is going to benefit the JCs, or so. I mean, there's always they have their regular shows like Fort Worth and Dallas, San Antonio, Corpus Christi, but then they'd be in high school gyms, and
Right.
it'd be a fundraising situation.
How
And
cool.
see, schools are always asking for, do this, do that, do this. Well, with this, you're asking, but you give them entertainment back. So you're actually giving them
Sure.
something. You're not just asking for their money. You're giving them some entertainment. You can do different things with the sponsor groups, set them front row, have the ring announcer plug them, put them on the radio, maybe a special referee thing. You can do lots of different things and create memories and moments that you can't do with baking a pie. Nothing
Right.
against baking a pie. I love a pie. But wrestling brings so much more, and there's so much more to it, and creates memories and other connections. And
Mhm.
next thing you know, you have tons of groups kind of reaching out and trying to do different things because you brought some new entertainment instead of the same old, same old.
Mhm.
That's really cool.
Let's circle
Is
back to the
Angel
associations. Like I said, when I came on with you, you remember the NWA. How did the NWA membership work back then? Because the NWA is now it's 100% owned by Billy Corgan, but back then it was I think it was owned by Bruce Stark.
Yeah, Tharp had the majority at the
He had the
time.
majority, but I know
And
you were a member. Elite was a member. There was a promotion in Tennessee that Greg Anthony
yeah.
Greg Anthony was part of. So how did all that work? Because I know that the NWA World Champion defended in Homa, but I don't remember. Did you ever get the NWA World Champion?
We did when Tim Storm had it.
Okay.
Oh,
But it wasn't during my NWA affiliate, I don't think. We did a Tim Storm Rodney Mack match when Tim had the title, and I think we were still an NWA affiliate, but I'm not 100% sure. You didn't have to, the rule wasn't that you had to bring the world champion in. You had to bring 3 NWA title matches into your promotion to honor your commitment to the NWA, but it could be any of the belts.
Oh, so
So
if you
so
didn't
in
get the
my
world
case,
title, it was because you wanted the tag champion or the national or the light heavyweight.
right? Because in my case, I didn't have to worry about it because the junior belts were on Steve Anthony and John Saxon, who were on every single one of my shows. So I didn't have to.
And Barrett.
Yeah, I had 3 NWA junior champs that were on every single show. So as they rotated that belt for the year or two that they did, I had my NWA covered, my commitments, because the NWA junior champs were on every single show that I had.
Okay.
And of course, Vordell had the national belt for a while too, and he was on some of my stuff. And then Tim had a belt
the
before,
national.
and Tim had it too. So I had my NWA kind of commitments covered. There was an NWA junior champion that didn't show up for one of mine, and it was the week of. And I tried to reach out and see if the NWA would do something to help me, and they didn't. So that's kind of when I started going, all right. And then the person that they wanted us to use for, I don't even remember his name because it's one of the few guys that I just don't have anything for. So I kind of blocked him out completely. But the NWA had a person, I don't remember the name, but they were who they encouraged all affiliates to use for their merch. I had ordered a bunch of shirts and stuff, and I never got them. Still to this day, I've never got them.
Oh.
But I ordered 50 or 60 shirts, and I never got them. And I showed messages, emails, different things, and nobody ever helped me. So I said, yeah, I don't think this is going to work out for me. I'm going to go back to playing by myself up here in North Louisiana. It had some good stuff, and there were some cool things I got to do and see and be a part of. But as a whole, it wasn't a good experience for me.
So you were out before Billy Corgan bought?
Yes.
Okay, so that wasn't like the reason why you were no longer an NWA affiliate.
And he did it smart. It's all under Billy now. There is no sub affiliates of the NWA. If NWA is attached to it, it's something that Billy's going to approve and run. Not
the
Tennessee
National Wrestling
promotion.
Alliance is not an alliance anymore.
Right.
It's a
Right.
name.
Association, maybe now at this
And
point, right?
the alliance was hard too, because at first they were recruiting promotions that I thought tried to do things right, but by the end of it, it was felt like a money grab where it was just anybody that'll do this and that. Come on, be an NWA affiliate, and I didn't. That just didn't feel like the spirit of what we were doing when we first kind of got involved in it.
Mhm.
And it took me a while to sign up. Elite signed up before we did, and they just kept talking to me, and finally I did. And then it wasn't a great experience for the 2 years that we did it.
Josh, do you all have like any wrestling academies or wrestling schools around you that where maybe some of the talent that you have on your shows come from?
We don't have an actual school, but there's definitely some schools kind of in the area.
Mhm.
The closest to us is a fairly new school called UWE. I think they've been around a year and a half, 2 years. Dapper Dan, who was a wrestler from the 80s, he runs it. But
Mhm.
the school that I particularly use the most is DFW Academy out of Dallas.
Mhm.
They produce, you have to train for 2 years before you can ever step out and wrestle at an independent show.
Sure.
The first year, you're doing all stuff with them. You're doing all the training. You're learning to set up a ring, break down a ring, refereeing, all the small stuff. The next year, they do shows on Fridays. I don't know if it's once a month or once a week, but you can be on those shows, but only those shows. So you get 20, 30, 40 matches on your belt that year. So you
Mhm.
have 2 years before you actually can branch out and do stuff on your own. So they're usually ready when they come out of that school. Where a lot of these schools, after 3 months, they're like, "Go have a wrestling match," and
Right.
it's not pretty.
Right.
He would not let anybody from DFW ever do that. So I know that if I'm looking for some young talent that's hungry, that's a school that I can reach out to. And I know his name's Lamont. Fantastic school. I think the best school in Texas, which has tons of good schools, but I think that's the best one. And Booker T School is great too.
Yeah.
That's great that you have one close to you that you can trust and you know they do it the right way and you know that when they give you talent, you know that they're ready and that's always important.
Emmy
That's
came
right.
out of that school, didn't she?
Yeah, Emmy. We
Did you-
actually had her first non DFW match was at BIW. She was
Oh,
so
cool.
nervous and still went out and did great. So
I mean,
Well,
you
as
wouldn't have known. You wouldn't have known that she was basically new. I mean, because sometimes you'll hear that this. Well, I even heard that that she was new,
Mhm.
but she was so. I mean, she was so good in the ring.
well, a
So
lot of those guys like Rook Tyler and Eddie Martinez and Nate Collins,
yes,
they're
Rook
all out of that
with
school.
Eddie.
Angel Camacho, they're all out of that school. So
speaking of Angel, I think I want his autograph. I don't know him, but I hear Dave talk about him, and I just think I need his autograph. So does he? I'm assuming he sells that kind of stuff.
he does.
He does.
Angel's about 400 pounds.
Yes, that's
He's
what
a
Dave
former
said.
he's a former semi-pro offensive lineman in football. Has great footwork, moves well, can jump from the top rope. His facial expressions are amazing. When he screams and hollers at you, you're gonna flinch. You're gonna back up.
He
He's
Mhm.
scares
just
the hell out of me, and I know the deal.
right.
Hey, maybe FTR could wrestle Angel. I booked a match for you, so you have them two. It's a handicap match. Dave can be in the ring. I'll be cheering everybody on in the. I'm a great fan, so I'll be cheering on everybody. So I just
Right.
booked a match, Justin. You missed it.
I heard you.
I'll
I've
get
been
you
here the
hooked
whole
up.
time. I've
I'll
been
get you
listening.
hooked
I
up on
just
that autograph for Angel.
The
Huh? Oh, yay!
Maybe
We're
we can
gonna
get
see
Angel
him.
on here one of these days.
We're gonna see
Oh,
him Saturday, Dave. So let's remember
Yes.
to get an autograph.
yes, because I love. Dave tells us about Angel, and again, smooth worker, a big guy, but he's a smooth worker, and I think he would be fun to watch. So
Well, by the time this airs, he may not be the champion anymore because he's defending. As we record this on Wednesday, Saturday night, he's going to defend it against Tim Storm, former NWA World Heavyweight Champion Tim Storm.
ooh,
Yeah, who's an Arkansas guy, and the title match is in Arkansas. So he actually went to college about an hour and a half, 2 hours up the road from where the show's going to be.
Yes.
how cool!
If we ever have Josh back on, I would love to see the world title for his promotion.
Oh
If you could have a
yeah,
show and tell.
Let's see.
Our
I
main
might
title
find
is
it.
our main title is the Southern.
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
yeah. I don't like the whole independents having a world title.
Okay, so you do the Southern, okay.
Yeah. Now, if your belt actually does travel, if it has been defended in Japan or Mexico, great. But
Yeah.
you'll see independent promotion that's done one town and 2 shows in a year, and they say they have a world title. And to
Right.
me, that's just a big turn off. It's not a world title. That
So do you
is,
have any titles that are within your own promotion, tag team or anything like that, that you
Yes.
guys are specific to?
yes, we have the Southern, we have the Deep South Heritage, which is like our Intercontinental, our US. It's that secondary belt. We have the Southern Tag belts, and then we just have a women's title that'll be the first champion in March.
Nice.
Dave actually helped get that belt designed. So
Awesome.
he came up with just about everything on it.
He knows a little bit about
Awesome.
belts, Josh.
He is kind of a belt guy.
I've heard that
Oh, I
about
can't wait till
Dave.
he wants to upgrade the tag belts.
Hey,
Yeah.
Josh, you know why he's a belt guy? Because he's never found a pair of men's pants that he don't need a belt for. That's why he's a belt guy.
So are you going to have a tournament, Josh? You said that the women's title is going to be determined in March.
Yeah, March
that what
4th
you
in
said?
Brookhaven, Mississippi. We've been around for 15, coming up on 16 years. Never had a women's champion. Never.
Mhm.
We've had women's matches, but we've never had a women's champion. So we're gonna have a match on that one, and we thought about different ways of doing it. This is gonna be a little different. We're having a tag match,
Mhm.
but whoever scores the pinfall or gets the submission will be the champion. Only that person.
Oh,
So a little bit of
Infighting. I can see it.
am I gonna let my partner get this 1, 2, 3? What's gonna happen? Blah blah
yeah.
blah. So we'll see how the dynamics play out in the ring for that one.
I got
As
a
we're
feeling
doing our-
whoever the
as we're-
partner is that doesn't win that championship is going to want to be the first challenger.
You know me well, Dave. You know my booking well. That's on my little computer here. So
Let's talk about Vicksburg. We're not going to keep you much longer. I'm super excited about Vicksburg because I'm an old school wrestling guy, and we're going to City Auditorium. City Auditorium is where Mid-South ran back in the day. I mean, you Google City Auditorium in Vicksburg, Mississippi, and look at the history. I mean, he wasn't Kamala at the time. He was Sugar Bear Harris.
Sugar Bear.
Or Ugly Bear Harris for a while.
I thought Justin was Sugar Bear. No, okay.
Well, I am sometimes.
But I mean, there's lots of history in that building. And I know that you'd had Vicksburg on your mind, and unfortunately, Vicksburg had been burnt to the ground by
General Sherman.
promoter. No, they had a promoter that
Yes, but that's not what we're talking about, Justin.
this
He's
was a
a teen-
colonel. This one was a colonel, not a general.
Oh,
Colonel Tom Parker. That's the guy you're thinking of, Dave.
and he screwed a bunch of folks, and which is bad. I mean, really sad because, I mean, what he had the opportunity to do there was very positive. He had gotten to one of the casinos. It was a nice setup. It's actually the show that I took my grandkids to, and it's where I decided I couldn't sit in the crowd anymore. But
so this was
Josh
fairly
there.
recent, like 10, 15 years ago. Like it's fairly recent that you're talking
No,
about.
he burned them
this?
to the ground last year.
Oh, last year.
no.
Oh, my bad.
It's been two.
Almost 2 years
Oh,
now.
okay.
Year and a half.
Okay.
But Josh kind of had his gears turning about how can he promote Vicksburg and get beyond this. So how did you come up with City Auditorium, Josh?
The first part was that the convention center was too expensive.
Okay.
That's the first thing that makes you keep looking for different options. But the convention center actually has a deal with Ticketmaster, to where you have to go through Ticketmaster and you have to agree to certain security, certain parking things. Like people were going to have to pay to park at an independent show. That's not really going to work. Plus, Ticketmaster was going to take a huge cut.
Yeah, their fees are almost as much as what you charge for a ticket.
Yeah, it would have been about a third of our ticket price on each ticket sold.
Right.
So that wasn't going to work out for us. So he told me maybe I should try the auditorium. I had been iffy on Vicksburg for a while anyway, because Parker had did this one, and there was another one that he messed up a few years before that. So they haven't had good wrestling in a long time. So I was a little hesitant, but my buddy Kobe, who lives in Jackson, had been wanting me to go there. And there was another guy named Mr. Roosh who passed away. Where he's one of the main reasons that we agreed to do the show there. And I'm sad that he just passed away a month or two ago. So I'm sad he's not going to get to see the first one. But his wife's been very helpful because she knew that this is what he wanted. He wanted wrestling in his hometown.
Was
So
he a older wrestler? Was he used to promote? Like, what was he
he's
with the
been
wrestling?
He's been a lifelong fan, but we're
Uh-huh.
talking like lifelong fan that picked wrestlers up at the airport for the
Uh-huh.
Jack Curtis's and the old Culkin days of Mississippi wrestling in the 80s. So he's a fan, nothing more
Mhm.
than that. But we're talking somebody they trust to come help with the ring, go pick up Ted DiBiase at the airport and bring him to the building. So he has memories that go beyond a little more than just your average fan. But he had been asking me for years and years and years to come. And then some other people too. And when we saw the opportunity with the auditorium, I finally called and the price wasn't as bad as I was expecting. And I was like, okay, I think we can make this work. And that's kind of how we ended up in the auditorium. Plus the old days and all the history. TCW had did the TV taping there. Impact had ran a show there back in when they were traveling, doing their things, and drew pretty well. They drew better in Vicksburg than they did in Monroe, even though Monroe's a much bigger town an hour up the road. Not much bigger, but bigger. So that made us think maybe Vicksburg could be one that we could get going. So that's kind of where a lot of that started. Plus, I have some contacts there. If I go to a new town, I try to have 3 to 5 people that I can meet up with when I'm there and give a stack of flyers to, give a sponsor sheet to, and say, hey, if you know anybody, send them my way. Because without the foots on the ground in the town, you're not going to make it. You have to have that local support. A lot of times people will say that like the Jackson radio is the #1 radio station in the area, but I want something in the actual town that we're doing. So I'll spend my money on the second or third most popular, but they're based out of Vicksburg so that when they're in the grocery store, they can talk about it. When they see people, they can talk about it. The Jackson people play my radio ads, but they don't care. The Vicksburg person is going to see people. They're going to be able to see a flyer. They're going to be able to help me spread the word to locals. So I try and do that instead of going for necessarily the most popular.
That makes a lot of sense. I mean, I feel like tonight we have got a tutorial in how to run an independent promotion and almost like a behind the scenes class. And I appreciate you being on here with us, Josh. It's been very informational. I know. Amy, would you not agree with that?
Yeah, I mean,
know
I'm like
Dave's around it
excited.
more than we are, you know.
I'm excited. I don't want to start a promotion, but like I said, I just think all of it's wonderful,
you should come
fascinating.
down.
You can drive down and help me with mine.
I know. Hey,
Come on.
FTR. No.
You should come down for the Vicksburg show. I mean, I've got a guy coming from Nebraska named Jimmy Sorensen. Jimmy's coming, but Jimmy's flying into Birmingham, and he's going to bring my friend Adam Hunter, who was an independent wrestler in Alabama for a while. We call him Adam from Bama. So he's going to fly to Birmingham and ride in with Adam. And then our friend Frank Bruno's coming up from New Orleans. And somehow or another, they're bringing Michael Whitaker. And I'm not sure where Michael's from.
Georgia.
He's from Georgia.
He's from Georgia. I'm going to have a house full after the show.
That is, oh gosh. Just a quick note on sports. Okay. I'm so mad at him because number one, I call him my baby boy because he literally could be my son, and the age difference. And I went total mom mode. He's in Japan, and I don't know if you know this, by himself.
Well, he's hanging out with Sonny Ono, though.
No. Sonny's not there yet. That's what I'm saying.
Sonny will be there.
Yes, he'll be there tomorrow. And I told him, I said, that is just like a child. You told me you're going to Japan, and Sonny Ono's going to be there, but you left out that little detail. I mean, I'm like, oh my God, you had to get a cab. You flew over there. Like I'm stressing out. He's not even my own kid.
I was just on a Zoom with him. I was just on a Zoom with him live from Japan right before I got on here with you guys, and he said he was going to McDonald's, and I told him to take pictures of the menu because I want to see how different the Japanese McDonald's menu is.
Hey, Josh, this guy, he befriended Sonny Ono in Nashville.
No, at
yeah.
the Top Guy. It was because Sonny was at the wrestling showcase.
Oh, he befriended and he hung out with Sonny all day.
Picked him up from the hotel.
And now they're friends. And he's going to wrestle. He's going to get to Muta's last match, and he's going to get a behind the scenes tour of Japan with Sonny Ono. I mean, he's going to get to go to Ribera. He's going to get to do all that stuff.
Yeah.
And
The Great Muta is my personal greatest of all time. So I'm very
No
jealous of
kidding.
that situation.
Wow.
that's awesome.
Japan's on my bucket list.
Yeah.
But he's also going to come when he gets home. He's coming. He's going to be in Vicksburg. So.
But Sorensen is like 23, and like I said, he's like my child. And the fact of him wandering around Japan is absolutely like tore my stomach up. Like I'm just
genuinely
absolutely
the nicest person you'll ever meet.
He is.
Yes, but I'm afraid he might not have
sense.
He is slightly clueless, so I understand Amy's concern.
Yes,
Before we jump out of here, does anyone else have any questions for Josh? You spent more than enough time with us, Josh, answering all of our questions. We appreciate it.
I will say, Josh,
I was just going to say all the questions that I had wrote down, Justin.
Oh, sorry. Oh, I asked him that you had wrote down. You said,
yeah, it's like you knew what I had wrote down and you did it for me.
Are you saying I was totally off the page? I didn't ask any questions that you would have thought of. Is that what you said? Pretty much.
No, you were doing it too. Y'all did a great job.
I'm just kidding. Josh, I'm going to keep up with your schedule, and I am going in 2023. I am going to come to Bayou Independent Wrestling. I am going to do it.
Even if FTR is not on the show.
Yes.
Okay.
Even if so.
Amy, let's do a summer show, and I'll meet you in Kentucky, and we'll ride on down.
Oh,
well, honestly,
yes.
Honestly, a good one to mark on the calendar would be June 17th. We're doing a show in Fountain Hill, Arkansas. But the next day, we're doing a show in West Monroe, Louisiana. So you could get 2 shows to make it more worth y'all's, drive down.
I think June 23rd or something, we're going to be in Alabama for Top Guy weekend. So we might just make a week out of it.
Just make a biggest circle.
And we should have some good talent in on that one. Caleb Conley's coming back, who's been on Impact. He's been on NWA. He's
Caleb with a K.
Yes. He's one of the best wrestlers. He's so underrated. Like Caleb can wrestle any style with any person. You can go Google any Conley match and you'll probably come out going, man, he's really good. Why isn't he signed like a major deal? He's been on AEW Dark like crazy lately. He's had 5 or 6 AEW Dark matches in the last 2 or 3 months. He's dating Statlander. They just celebrated their third year anniversary. Ooh. So, Statlander, of course, is on AEW. Yeah. We'll have Sam Stackhouse back in on that one, who's been on some GCW pay-per-views and things. He's another 400-pounder that can actually just go.
Nice.
And then we're probably going to have an Impact women's match as well on there. Somebody will come in. One will be from Impact, and then the other will be one of our ladies. So the June 17th, 18th would be a good one to consider.
Well, we might.
James. Just kidding.
Hey, also, before I start wrapping us up here, Dave and Josh, when are you guys going to be working together and where here coming up?
Our next one's this Saturday.
That's what I thought. I just wanted to.
By the time this drops, will have already happened. But February 4th in Vicksburg.
February 4th in
February
Vicksburg.
4th, City Auditorium in Vicksburg. If Angel Camacho is still the champion, he's going to give APOC Adam Asher his rematch.
In a lumberjack match, too.
But if Tim Storm wins the belt, Tim and APOC were tag team champions when I started refereeing. They were the Dark Circle. But I've actually refereed them before, and that's when worlds collide, because those guys, they may be friends, but that all goes out the window about 2 minutes into the match.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So Tim has told me that if I need him on the February 4th card, he'll come. So if he wins the title, we'll make sure he's in the building.
All right.
Can't go wrong either way. And then what do we got? After that, we're going to be in
Brookhaven on March 4th, and then West Monroe for March 18th. And that's going to be, I can't go in all the details until after the Vicksburg one, but that's going to be a very, very, very special show for us.
Do you guys have a Twitter? Do you guys have a Twitter, Josh?
The Facebook.
You got Facebook?
Bayou Independent Wrestling on there, and I post every single day.
Okay, that's what I was
Oh.
gonna say. Follow Bayou Independent Wrestling on Facebook, and that way you will not forget because Josh will remind you when there are events coming up.
Yeah, every month we're somewhere. Just about every month we're somewhere, so they
All
can
right.
find it.
We need a
Like
Twitter.
I said,
Josh.
go ahead, Dave. I'm sorry.
We need a Twitter.
It's hard enough for me to keep up with the Facebook and the Instagram. I'm
can
gonna
do
put
your
you in
Twitter.
charge. I'll put you
Dave
in
will get
charge
you
of
a
the Twitter.
Twitter.
I can
Dave will get
Exactly.
you
do
a Twitter.
Twitter.
I'll put you in charge of the Twitter.
And then
All right, I liked
when
it.
When Dave announces the Twitter, we will book it. We will plug it here on this show when the new Bayou Independent Wrestling Twitter gets started up. I want to thank Josh Fields or Josh Newell. Sorry, Josh Fields. That's a friend of mine. Josh Newell for coming on here. Like I said, it really was just informational and just great to get to pick your brain on, how difficult it is and just the ins and outs of running an independent promotion these days. So I hope our fans enjoyed this because it's not something that we, cover a lot on this show, but I think it's important and it's wrestling roots, and we appreciate people like Josh that are keeping the wrestling roots alive. So definitely thank you, Josh, so much for coming on here with us.
One
No
last
problem at
question,
all.
Josh. Is Professor
Yeah.
going to be in Vicksburg?
I don't believe Vicksburg. I think he's planning on Brookhaven and West Monroe.
Oh,
But he
Internet
could
sen-
but he could
internet
change his mind.
sensation, TikTok superstar, the Professor Nick
Oh,
Harrison.
yeah, I know him. I'm
Yeah, we
friends
do
with him
too.
on
and
Twitter.
he's been the commissioner of Bayou Independent Wrestling for years.
Yeah,
Oh,
he was a manager for the first few years.
uh-huh.
We had an inner circle stable, which I guess I should have trademarked since it became a big deal later. But we had an inner circle stable for years that he was a heel manager, and then he went away for about a year, and I brought him back as a commissioner. He's been doing that for 8 to 10 years. He's one of the most talented people that I've ever been around in my life. He's Grambling Theater, graduated from it. He's been a professor, all this stuff on the radio. He's so talented. He can do anything. Like
His Twitter is definitely entertaining. Things
His
he puts
TikTok
out.
is incredible.
Well,
a lot
just
of times
wait.
when a wrestler comes into the locker room, they'll shake my hand because I'm the one paying them, but they throw me to the side and they're like, "I didn't know you were going to be here," and they're talking
Uh-huh.
to me, and it's
They want
like,
to be in a
man,
TikTok.
yeah, and most of them do get him to do a TikTok. Now, there's been a few that he got to do the TikTok with him, like Tim Storm's so old school. Tim didn't know anything
You don't know
about
what
Nick.
TikTok is.
So Nick had to get him to do the TikTok. And after Tim chopped him a few times for the TikTok video,
Oh,
I told
my.
Tim he has millions of followers. And he was like, well, I guess it's a good thing I said yes then. Because he wasn't going
chopped
to
me
do
so
it.
hard I saw his soul leave his body.
Oh,
Yeah.
bless his heart.
I wouldn't want Tim Storm to hit me. I've watched him and Vordell go at it, and they knocked the front of the door of the building off. He hit Tim so hard one time a tooth went flying. Like it's
The first time I was in Brookhaven, I was walking in and I didn't know where to park. And I parked up front with the fans, and one of the guys was, Tim Storm here? Last time I was here, they knocked the door off. So, I mean,
and that was my car parked out front that they were all up on hitting each other, acting like they were going to slam each other on my car out front.
Oh, they were about to pull Jim Cornette on you, weren't they?
Yeah, I mean, Tim was 290, 300 pounds. Bordell's built like a fullback, 265, and they're right up on my car with a body slam motion. And I'm just like, please no. And it was a stressful night. But people still talk about that, and that was like a decade ago.
Well, yeah, I mean, I was in 2014, first time I went to Brookhaven.
Yeah, so they still mention that one.
That's awesome.
Saxon and Storm doing their concession brawl, they still talk about it. I'm trying to think. The time APOC almost lost his eye, he got kneed in the eye, and his actual eye was hanging out, and blood was just going everywhere. And they still talk about that one.
Good thing. I hope you had the doctor on hand that night.
That was a Mississippi show. We didn't, but we did push APOC's eye back into his socket.
Yeah.
Oh, my
There you go.
gosh.
And then he went all the way. Then he went all the way back
Dr.
to Dallas,
Newell
Texas.
took care of that. Dr. Newell took care of it.
Yeah, that was an interesting night too. So there's been
We're
a lot
gonna-
of fun nights over the last 15 years. So
Well, like I said, we want to thank you from the bottom of our heart for coming on here with us. It was a lot of fun. And we hope you join us next week when we will be doing the Royal Rumble preview and predictions. So we got the big Royal Rumble coming up. It's been announced that Cody Rhodes will be in the Royal Rumble. And I predicted this for 6 months that he will win it and then beat Roman Reigns at WrestleMania, but we'll see what happens. So yeah, it should be fun to look forward to the Royal Rumble. We've all talked about our love for the Royal Rumble. I know you love it, Amy, and Dave with his old ass NWA crap don't care about the Royal Rumble, but we do.
It's my favorite. It's my favorite pay-per-view.
All right. Yeah, I think it is most people's. It was mine as a kid. It was always fun. Just buzzer goes off, see who's next. That was always just such a fun thing as a kid. So I'm excited to talk about our Royal Rumble preview and predictions next week. Amy, how about you?
Definitely. It'll be very interesting. I'm with you. I got to go last year when it was in St. Louis. It was the first time that I'd been to the Royal Rumble in person, and it's just as exciting. We were there with FFP. They did a suite, and it, like you said, I love the buzzer. I love to see who's coming out because you never know if it's going to be a legend, someone new. The winner, you just never know how it's all going to roll out. And you get to see different people interact with each other. And like you said, it is my favorite. I love it.
All right. Dave, got anything before we go?
Show and tell.
Oh, we got a show and tell.
But we're going to do show and tell a little different in honor of Jay Briscoe.
Oh, that's right. Hold him up. I don't have a shot glass, but I got a whole shot
Mouth.
bottle. I got a shot
mouth.
bottle.
I'm pouring a little. What
Yeah,
y'all
I'm going to
drinking?
pour a little. I got a little shot glass. I'll pour a little.
Sorry we didn't give you a heads up on this part, Josh.
yeah, I definitely could have did that.
Chink.
I can hit pause if you want to go get some.
Whatever's easy.
But I noticed after the last match with FTR that Dax had that bottle of tequila, and they all toasted after their match. So I don't think there's any better way to remember Jay Briscoe than to drink to him.
That's right.
Cheers.
We'll see you on the other
Cheers,
side.
God
Yep.
bless you, Jay.
Yes. God bless.
Yeah.
And God bless you guys, and we will see you next week.
Good night.